Hello and welcome to Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy and I'm here with Tony Robinson. We're going to do our Accrington Stanley versus Fleetwood Town preview here today. But as you may have noticed, I didn't open the show with my normal good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And that is sadly because last night we received some news about a friend of ours. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Total Soccer Show and Daryl Grove, Daryl Grove is one of the hosts of what's called the Total Soccer Show, which is a podcast that has been around for over a decade. And over here at the U.S. is just kind of if you're a soccer podcaster, the Total Soccer Show has undoubtedly influenced you. And for many of us, and I know myself is definitely included in this, that the Total Soccer Show is sort of the show that we strive to be as good as, if that makes sense. And just to kind of give a little bit of a backstory on Across the Pitch, and I, as a guy from Phoenix, Arizona, I even got to be doing a podcast about Accrington Stanley in the first place. Has to do with the Total Soccer Show. And back in the summer of 2018, I actually traced it back to, it was August 21st, 2018 is the first time that I ever heard of Accrington Stanley. And it was on the Total Soccer Show. And I don't know if you're familiar with the episode that we did with Ira Jersey a few months ago. Ira Jersey of the League One Fun podcast. He had actually sent in a question about Accrington to the Total Soccer Show, which kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of wanting to know everything there was about Accrington Stanley. And, here Tony and I are today running the Accrington Stanley Supporters Club of North America, just doing everything to, kind of promote Accrington as a global brand. And I can, without question, say that we would not be here doing any of this without Daryl and his show. And for those of you who don't know, Daryl, who did actually come on the show with us back in July, he recorded a couple of episodes with us. He's been battling cancer since early 2019. He was first diagnosed back in July when he came on the show. Things sounded like they were going well for him health-wise. In recent weeks, he's been back into the hospital, and as of last night's episode of the Total Soccer Show, his co-host Taylor Rockwell announced that at this point that the doctors have told Daryl that there's not much left that they could do, and he's being moved to hospice care. So with that announcement, Yogi McLovin of the River City 93 podcast, who you may remember also came on this show this spring, and so he is a local podcaster in Richmond, Virginia. The Total Soccer Show is also based out of Richmond, Virginia. So the Yogi McLovin reached out to myself and a number of other podcasters, and we decided that this week we would all open the show with a hello and welcome, which is where that came from at the beginning of the show. And we've also made Daryl our team of the month for October back in February of 2019 when it was first announced that he was battling the illness. We had promoted the GoFundMe campaign, Team Daryl, to kind of help out with his medical bills and things. We had not announced a team of the month for October yet. So it was just to be, there was nothing else we could do but to make Daryl our team of the month for October, Team Daryl Grove. And just to kind of finish up with this and how important Daryl is not only to this show, but the entire soccer podcast community. When Daryl came on the show back in July, it was just beyond an honor. And I've already said this on social media, but I'm going to say it again that we've had a lot of coaches, managers, broadcasters, owners on the show. And the only time that I've been legitimately palm sweating nervous before recording was when Daryl came on the show, because it's just the only way that I can kind of describe it as a semi-pro podcaster, if you will, is that Daryl is just the preeminent professional in soccer podcasting in this country, and to have him on the show would be the equivalent to somebody who was a lounge singer in Las Vegas just starting out and played a few shows, and then calling up Wayne Newton and saying, "Hey, Wayne, do you want to come sing with me?" And Wayne saying, "Sure, I'll come sing with you." I mean, that's what it meant to have Daryl on the show with us, and I'm just so grateful that he took the time, even not feeling well, to just come on to our show, and that Daryl just keeps strong, and you have thousands and thousands of fans and friends out there that love you, and just keep strong, Daryl.
Well said, Phil. That was you covered everything really well, and just from my point of view, a true pioneer in our niche of football podcasts, and from all the fans and co-hosts of Across the Pitch, he's in our thoughts and prayers. So, having said that, we have to talk about football, Phil, and on a more positive note, let's see what we can do about the upcoming match with Fleetwood.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tony, thank you for just letting me take some time to talk about Daryl, because sometimes there's things that are bigger than football, and news like that about somebody that we consider a friend, and like you said, a pioneer and an influence to us. And just like you said, we wish you all the best, Daryl, and to your family. And
I think
we'll talk about some football too.
Yeah. We'll obviously dedicate this podcast to him, and hopefully we can teach him something about Fleetwood and Accrington. So if we do that, then we've done our job today, Phil.
Well, let's do that, Tony. And Fleetwood and Accrington is a matchup that has some interesting backstories. And I think that for sure the lead story is Sam Finley. His return from suspension happens to coincide with Accrington coming to town. And he's on record on an interview this week saying, "It's just another game for me." I don't know if I quite buy into all of that. What do you think, Tony?
No, he's saying that for the Fleetwood press, and to show. I mean, he's obviously got to show his allegiance to Fleetwood, and rightly so. But he had a couple of good seasons at Stanley. Was a player that had talent, and unfortunately, he just had an edge to him that didn't fit in with John and Jimmy's management style, and he's moved on, and we wish him all the well at Fleetwood, just not against Stanley.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that Sam is a very talented player. I definitely wish him all the best this season after Tuesday. I'd like to see him get 15 assists this year as long as they don't come against Stanley.
Yeah,
And he's a guy that came on the show, and he's a great chap and somebody that we consider a friend of the show. And like you said,
absolutely.
Tony, he had a couple of indiscretions, if you will, and I'm always as I wrote in my lengthy Phoenix Rising article a few weeks ago, a guy that believes in second chances, but Stanley gave Sam a second chance after an incident at Charlton, and then there was the second incident with the slur against Rochdale, and I'm about second chances, but third chances, maybe it's just time to move on. And like we talked about, I mean, Joey Barton is going to be his manager, and a guy that learned some of those same lessons throughout his career. So
I talked about a guy with second chances. But just with Sam, I mean, they formed a nice little partnership on the wing with Clicker and with Callum Johnson, and they developed a good knowing of each other. So it's time. We've moved on now at Stanley, and so has Sam. And I'm sure you've got this on your fingertips, Phil. What's our record look like overall against Fleetwood?
Yeah, Fleetwood and Accrington, they met 9 times all time. So far, there has been 4 wins for each club and 1 draw. So it's been a pretty even series. The last time they met was on 7th of January 2020. That one was in the Football League Trophy, and that one was actually won by Stanley in penalties. And that was, and it started off 2-2 at the end of regulation, and then Stanley advanced on penalties. The last time they met in League One, though, that was won by Fleetwood, and that was 2-0 on August 24th, 2019. So, I mean, what we're looking at here is this series, it's just been pretty even back and forth. But the last 2 times they played in league, it's gone to Fleetwood. The last 2 times that they played in a trophy competition, it's gone to Stanley. So this is a league match. So what are you expecting to see tomorrow, Tony?
Well, I'm looking at a rebound from Stanley. And I mean, it was a tough match against Ipswich. But like Coleman said, you couldn't, when you looked at that first half, you couldn't tell who was in first place and who was in sixth place. They don't fear anybody, as he says. And unfortunately, the first goal was a couple of sort of bounce around balls, and then it just landed to the Ipswich player, and he had to obviously made a good finish. But the first goal in games like that are so important. And another uncharacteristic mistake leading to the second goal. And believe it or not, it's the first match that Stanley hasn't scored. So I'm definitely looking for a rebound because and some goals. And whether Coleman will start Dion Charles, we'll have to take a look at that. What's your thoughts on whether he would go back on the starting lineup, Phil?
Well, I think that you make a lot of excellent points there. And before I jump in with my thoughts, I do just want to mention real quick, as we always do, the officials for Accrington against Fleetwood will have Darren Drysdale as the referee, Joe Simpson and Mark Cudliffe as the assistants, and Martin Coy will be the 4th official, getting an earful from Jimmy Bell.
I always seem to forget the vital information because it's about the referee. So if I'm going to forget anything, it might as well be that. But okay, now.
But yeah, in terms of what you were saying, I think you're spot on with what you were saying about Ipswich. I actually was listening to a bit of the Ipswich commentators And especially in the first half, they were saying that they thought Stanley was the best side that Ipswich had faced all year. And like you mentioned, it was the first time they didn't get a goal all season. And like you also mentioned, Dion Charles is going to be coming back. I am almost 100% sure he will be in the starting lineup because he's the guy that we need more than anything. I mean, in the last match, Cassidy was finally taken to the bench just because he really hadn't been producing. Joe Pritchard had to be moved up to the forward role. What that ended up doing is taking away his creativity out of the midfield. So by bringing Charles back, you can move Pritchard back into midfield. You solved two problems at once there by getting the creativity back into midfield. Charles had been the most effective forward for us before his suspension. I don't see any reason he wouldn't be able to be match fit. He only missed 3 weeks, and I'm sure that he's at least been doing some training and things like that. So I absolutely think we'll see Charles tomorrow in the starting lineup.
And after his performance on the weekend, Toby will still be in between the pipes.
Here's what I think. I think that we had predicted that Baxter might get the start on Saturday. It did end up being Toby Savin. I'm going to say because of the short rest that we'll probably see Baxter here. I think that might be where Coleman is looking. 2 days rest, maybe get the other keeper in.
Based on rest, not on performance, which I think that's a good way to break in Baxter, to give him a start against a team really. Fleetwood that they scored 8 goals, but in 6 matches, which doesn't sound too bad. But when you take away 4 goals that they scored in 1 match, they're not putting the ball in the net as much as they would like. So I'm expecting a low-scoring affair from them. But we'll get into the prediction a bit later. Just who do you see as the key players? I know one of the fellas from Fleetwood that you would talk about other than Finley. So give us a couple of key players that we should look out for from Fleetwood.
Well, absolutely. And I'm glad that you came to that because this is exactly where I wanted to go with it. And for one thing, I want to say I think that Joey Barton has been listening to the show because last year I went pretty deep into why I think that 4-2-3-1 is the best formation, and I see that he's been playing 4-2-3-1 this season. Also, they went and signed Callum Camps, who I'm sure that
your man,
the player that you were referring to a moment ago in the offseason. And then last week they brought in another Callum Connolly. They brought him back, so now they have a pair of Callums. I mean, You've got Joey Barton loading up on Callums playing the 4-3-2-1. I signed Sam Finley. I mean, this guy sounds like he's listening to the show.
Well, if he's not, he should be. And if he is, how you doing, Joey? Anyway, okay.
But going back to what you were saying about the 8 goals, it's certainly the fact that most of them came in, or half of them, I guess, came in one game is something. The other thing that you have to look at is Callum Camps has 3, Harvey Saunders has 3, and Saunders, he's been, I think, a surprise. Nobody really expected that out of him. But if you take away those 2 guys, that's 6 of their 8 goals. And, it's not necessarily concerning to have 2 guys dominating the scoring. But here's what my concern is. When I think of Fleetwood, I think of their 2 veteran strikers, Chet Evans and Paddy Madden. Those are guys that to me should both be getting to double-digit goals for Fleetwood. Right now, Madden has 1 goal. Evans has 0. He does have an assist, but I mean, 1 goal and 1 assist combined between Evans and Madden is just not going to get it done. Those are guys that Fleetwood needs to score if they're going to get promoted.
And there's some. Obviously, you made some key points there about the players, and if they could stop Saunders and Camps, then there's an excellent chance to win the match. Once, obviously, we've covered some key players there and Joey's formation. Have you had a chance to look at the betting line for this one, Phil?
I have, and it's an interesting one. And it's one of those ones where, I say that the casino will sometimes try to influence you to bet on one side or another, or other times the casino is just trying to get an even money amount on each side because they don't really want to know, or they don't really have a thought on who wins, so they just don't want to take the risk. This is definitely one of those lines. Fleetwood is favored, but by the slightest margin ever. They're a plus 148, which is going to be $14.80 for every 10 that you bet. Accrington is a plus 195, will get you $19.50 for every $10 that you bet. And the draw line is plus 210, which is going to get you $21 for every $10 that you bet. Like I said, any time that the draw line is under plus 250, which here at plus 210, it's well under plus 250. That tells me that the casino is guarding against the draw. Anytime you can bet on both Stanley and Fleetwood to win and still make money either way, that again tells me that the casino is guarding against a draw. So, I mean, looking at this one, it tells me that we might be looking at a draw here.
Well, and that reminds me of, or I should have said earlier at the beginning of the program, we didn't really cover our predictions and the results from the Ipswich match. But just to cover that off, I predicted a 1-1, and you were closer to it, Phil. You predicted a 2-1 loss, and it ended up a 2-0 loss. But as I say, I think with Dion Charles back up front, I think that's going to reignite a bit of the fire up front. And like you said, it's going to get Pritchard back into more a suitable position for him, along with Matt Butcher. And I think get players playing in their positions that, that suits them best. And I'm just wondering, do you think Nottingham will get another start again tomorrow night? And based on what you said there from the betting line, they're looking towards a draw. What's your before I give you mine, I'll let you go first, Phil. What do you think for the result of this one?
Yeah, absolutely. It in regards to the final prediction, I think that so with Stanley and Fleetwood, you have two teams that have both looked either like world beaters one week or maybe not so good the next week. So it's kind of tough to say what team is going to show up for both sides. With it being a home match for Stanley, I mean, certainly that's something where Stanley has played a lot better at the Wham Stadium. I was kind of thinking 2-2, but you know what? I think that the home field advantage will get Stanley the extra goal, and I'll go with 3-2 to the Reds.
Okay, and I had written down here before I didn't have the 3-2 result, but I did have a Stanley win. I think I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Stanley. They're going to score. They're going to be a little tighter at the back, and I think we're going to see a more of a complete game effort. And again, in this match with teams that are fairly close, and obviously a lot has been expected of Fleetwood. I would think the first goal is, as they say, is very important, maybe more so in this match. And Stanley, if they can get that, they can get another one quickly. It just seems to be the key that they can score quickly together. So, I'm looking for a rebound and a 2-1 win, Phil.
All right. Well, I don't really care what the score is as long as we get 3 points, and I hope we'll see that tomorrow night.
Yep.
And we will be back with our full league preview. We're going to do that Wednesday morning after the Tuesday results come in so that we can get everything covered for you. We also have an interview with Matt Butcher that we're going to be recording here in about an hour and a half. Until then, on Stanley On.
On Stanley On. Cheers, Phil.
Cheers, Tony.